This is Cardinal Glennon Hospital for Children in St. Louis, Missouri. And it was here that a need created an inspiration that became an innovation that changed the way IV site protection would be done across the United States and Canada. This is the story of one nurse's vision and her family's quest to create a new standard for IV site protection. This is the story of IV House.
In the emergency room, we start a lot of IVs. Almost every patient that came in would need an IV. And when I started in 1983, we were using butterfly needles that had it was a steel needle that we left under the skin and taped it in place. And if the steel needle moved at all, it would pierce the other side of the vein and it would infiltrate. And the fluid would go into the area around the vein and not into the vein, and it would get puffy. So we always protected those to prevent movement of the catheter and the needle. We decided to start cutting urine cups up, and we would cut the urine cups in half and break them apart and then tape the edges with tape so that the sharp edges were not going to dig into the patient's skin. And then once we got our IVs in place, we would put the urine cup over the top of the IV, and that was the protection.
The inspiration.
There has to be a better way. I can't believe I'm standing here cutting a urine cup in half. What am I doing? They're paying me $20 an hour, and it's not right. Why am I spending my time making these things? Why isn't there a product out there? And nurses really are the mothers of creation. There's lots of products out there that have been developed by nurses. So I kept the idea in my head for a while, and then finally I approached my mom and asked her if she could help me bring this product to market, and she agreed.
Lisa knew she had a great idea, but she also knew she would need a great business partner to help her figure out how to bring her idea from vision to viable product. So she picked the hardest working businesswoman she could find, her mother.
Well, she showed me the half a urine cup, and I started going to Inventors Association meetings to find out how to invent. And I learned a lot there. We knew the odds were really, really against us going into this new business, and a huge number of new businesses fail, and ours just didn't look like anything that would make it to others than Lisa and me. We always knew we could.
IV House UltraDome and UltraDressing products are the latest generation for neonatal and pediatric applications and for adult and geriatric uses.
What IV House does is protects the whole IV site. It's protecting the catheter hub and the loop of tubing that loops back around. And when you get everything under there, then you're preventing accidental dislodgements by the loop getting caught on something.
All you need is a single piece of tape placed on the top to keep the IV House in position. For added patient comfort, the ventilated UltraDome also has padding on its base to protect the skin and to allow easy and more comfortable access for site inspection.
Everyone knows how busy nurses are. There's a huge nursing shortage right now, and the census is up in all the hospitals, so nurses are really being overworked. And if there's something terrible happening on the floor and they can't get to their patient to check their IV site every hour, then accidents happen.
The IV House UltraDressing has the same comfort features as the UltraDome, but it goes a step further because it easily slips over the patient's thumb and wraps around the hand to attach with Velcro for a secure and comfortable fit. No tape is necessary, and tape removal can be a painful issue for many patients. This no-tape feature makes UltraDressing really great for geriatric patients with thin, fragile, and sensitive skin, and for patients with hair on their arms.
Besides a needle hurting, removing the tape is also so painful. We really think that if you use IV House on your IV site, that you can decrease the amount of tape that's used. There's just so much tape being used to hold the catheter and the loop of tubing in place. If you follow the instructions on our website, then we think you won't have to use nearly as much tape, and you'll just put the protection over the top of it.
Our latest version is an UltraDressing with a much smaller dome. It's specifically designed for neonatal patients. It has a long piece of gauze with Velcro buttons that can be cut to size to fit the smallest patients.
nursing has played a huge part in the development of the new products, because anytime they asked for something new, we said, okay, we'll do it. They wanted the smaller ones because some nurses were using medicine cups, so instead of asking how much it was going to cost, we just said, okay, we'll do it. And they asked for one for geriatric patients, and instead of wondering if we could do it, we just plowed ahead and said, okay, we'll make them.
IV House products have been recognized for their features, benefits, and efficacy in prestigious publications such as Wong's Essentials of Pediatric Nursing by Donna Wong, Advances in Neonatal Care, and the Journal of the Association for Vascular Access.
We currently have over 250 hospitals that use IV House. We're nationwide. We also sell to 25 hospitals in Canada, and we have a distributor that tells us he distributes to the Pacific Rim. IV House can help hospitals save money because it will lengthen the dwell time of the IV, and that means that your IVs will stay in longer. The CDC says that IVs can stay in up to 96 hours now, and we're pretty confident that if you protect your IV sites with an IV House, that you'll get a 96-hour dwell time. It's all about the length that we can keep the IV in place. The longer it stays, the less amount of IV sticks that you have to initiate for the patient. There's always a risk to the doctors and nurses who start IVs that they could have a needle stick. And with a needle stick comes the possibility of being exposed to hepatitis or HIV. By lengthening the time that the IVs stay in place, it decreases the number of IVs that a patient has to have each hospitalization, and thereby reducing the risk of the healthcare provider who's starting the IV.
My dream is that it becomes the standard of care, and it'll be mandatory that its use is for all pediatrics, all geriatrics, and for our veterans, and anyone else that needs it, but I want it to become a standard of care.
IV House can be used anywhere in the hospital. I think it should start in the emergency room and travel up with the patient, because what happens is they leave the emergency room or the operating room, their IVs have been wrapped, and then when they get to the floor, the nurses need to assess the site, so they have to unwrap it. And nurses and families have told me that it would be so much better to have IV House on from the very beginning, so that when they finally get to their destination, their hospital bed, they'll be able to just rest, because that's what they want to do. They just want to rest and get better.
But it's really nice to think that at any given moment there's thousands of children in North America wearing our IV houses, making their hospitalization a little less traumatic.
We thank you for every good wish and every kindness, and we thank you for helping us make the dream of IV House become a reality.